Tonight we're talking about fall, not as a shopping list, but as a language. The season is less about what's in and more about how women want to feel when the air turns cold. Grounded, intelligent, sensual without shouting, and powerful in ways that readers ease. If spring is speculation, fall is conviction. You can sense it in the silhouettes getting longer, the textures getting richer, and the styling turning from novelty to nuance. These are the current stylish women are obsessed with, not because they are loud, but because they make everyday life look considered. This fall is defined by substance you can touch. Texture sits at the center, tweed that looks woven with memory, knits that behave like outerwear, leathers that read like butter but hold the body like architecture. Women aren't asking for more clothes, they're asking for more feeling. That's why fabrics with story, melange wools, brushed mohairs, dry compact jerseys, hammered satins are doing the heavy lifting. When the material is interesting, the silhouette can be simpler and the message becomes clearer. I thought about this. Length returns as a quiet form of drama. The eye has moved downward, skirts trace the calf, coats echo the hem, and trousers skim the floor with the confidence of someone who knows where she's going. The long line is important because it changes posture, it slows the outfit down. In a fast world, elongation is the most elegant refusal. Women are responding to that serenity, to the way a longer proportion makes even flat shoes feel deliberate. Speaking of shoes, the season favors intelligence over acrobatics. You'll notice a shift toward grounded soles, sharpened flats, almond toe boots, low-height heels with sculptural profiles. The point isn't to look shorter, it's to look steadier. A stable shoe lets the rest of the look oscillate between structure and softness without becoming a costume. It's modern pragmatism, mobility as a luxury. Tailoring evolves from boardroom to sanctuary. We're seeing jackets that curve, not just cut, rounder shoulders, contoured waists, and trousers with a calm, roomy drape. It's the rise of soft power suiting, where authority doesn't require armor. The best pieces sit away from the body by a breath, creating presence through air rather than padding. Women love this because it respects movement. You can command a room and still take a deep breath. The knitwear conversation is no longer about sweaters, it's about knit architecture. Dresses knit like column sculptures, ribbed sets that act as a personal climate system, and cardigans worn like coats. The obsession is with pieces that flex from morning to midnight without changing their tone. Texture again is the star, wide ribs that lengthen, fisherman cables that add topography, cashmere that reads matte and expensive. The knit dress in particular is having a thoughtful moment because it offers structure without seams. It communicates effortlessness while doing complex work. Outerwear is the thesis statement of fall, and this season's thesis reads, considered volume. Coats curve at the sleeve, swallow the shoulders, and then taper with intention. You'll see cocoon shapes that don't smother, trenches with heavier drape, and wrap coats that act like moving rooms. The fascination is how these pieces frame the face. A beautiful collar, a hood that sits just so, a lapel with generous roll. Women are obsessing over micro-architecture that turns outerwear into portraiture. Leather continues, but the attitude shifts from biker to bibliophile. Instead of shouting, it murmurs. Matte finishes, nut brown shades, minimal hardware, and silhouettes that feel tailored rather than tough. Think leather as a fabric category, not a character. It shows up as long skirts, easy shirts, soft blazers, and gloves that read like jewelry. It's sensuality through sound, the hush of leather moving rather than the glare of leather gleaming. There's also a clear return to craft as status. Crochet, hand-embroidered motifs, fringes that feel like movement studies rather than decoration. These are the details people lean in to see. The point isn't look at my clothes, it's look at what hands can do. In an algorithmic era, craft signals humanity. That's why even the most minimal wardrobes slot in a piece with visible labor. It gives a quiet outfit a pulse. Bags get smaller in footprint but bigger in personality. Rounded forms, compact top handles, soft moons, and spherical clutches have momentum because they act like punctuation. The obsession isn't size, it's silhouette. A thoughtful bag shape can turn a very restrained outfit into a sentence that ends with confidence. Chains and hardware are present, but the restraint reads luxurious, weighty, precise, sometimes hidden inside rather than screaming outside. Color works like editing rather than exclamation. Three families are leading the mood. First, the deep naturals: bitter chocolate, forest, oxblood and tobacco, shades that feel like library wood and late afternoon light. They flatter skin and make even simple shapes feel expensive. Second, the modern neutrals: charcoal over black, stone over beige, and the new favorite, bone. These desaturated tones layer without noise. Third, the intelligent brights: lacquer red, oil slick navy and cold metallics used in controlled doses. The trick is temperature control. Pair warm browns with cold silver, pair bone with oxblood. Women are obsessed because the palette works across wardrobes. It isn't disposable. Jewelry is sculptural and spare. You'll see cuffs that read like small sculptures, earrings that sit close to the face but draw light, and chains whose interest lies in shadow as much as shine. The conversation is about volume and placement more than sparkle. One assertive piece against quiet fabric says more than a handful of trinkets. The scarf returns as strategy. Not just the thin necktie of last year, but broader wraps, elongated bands, and shawls that change a coat's geometry. It's the simplest way to add movement and shift proportion. Wrapped once and left to fall, a scarf can make an old jacket look editorial. That's the appeal. Transformation without purchase. A key psychological thread runs through all of this. Women are choosing clothes that organize their day. We're living through a convergence of roles: work, care, travel, performance. And fall fashion responds by offering pieces that telegraph clarity. Nothing feels fussy. Even the sparkle is strategic, often appearing at night in liquid metallics that ripple rather than scream. There's pleasure here, but it's adult pleasure. The dress doesn't wear you, it illuminates you. Silhouette-wise, the season toggles between two magnets: column and cocoon. The column is long, lean and low drama. It's the knit dress, the elongated skirt, the straight-down coat. The cocoon is round, protective, a hug with structure. It's the curved shoulder jacket, the puffed sleeve, the wrap coat. Women are playing with the tension: slim under round, round over slim. That play is a trend in itself. Proportion as personality. Denim matures, rises lift without aggression, washes mute into slate and ink, and cuts relax into leg shapes that graze rather than cling. The obsession is not novelty, it's refinement. Denim is being treated like tailoring: steamed, paired with leather, anchored with sharp shoes. It reads less weekend, more wardrobe. Evening is shedding the chandelier and borrowing from the library. Dresses are columnar and textured. Separates are monochrome with interest created by surface. Pleats that hold their line. Crinkle satins that look alive under dim light. Velvet that drinks the room. Feathers and fringe appear, but they are cut with restraint and placed where they echo movement. The new idea of glamour is quiet electricity. Underpinning all of this is a broader cultural fatigue with disposability. The trends stylish women are truly obsessed with are the ones that promise longevity, because longevity now reads as luxury. A coat you'll wear for 5 winters, a knit that becomes a second skin, a boot that grounds multiple silhouettes. The algorithm may chase novelty, but the body chases trust. Trust is the trend. There is, of course, a countercurrent. Pieces that speak a little louder. Metallics in daylight, red as a neutral, exaggerated collars, statement belts that cinch volume into sculpture. These moments work because they're placed against a backdrop of calm. The most stylish women are conducting an orchestra, one instrument at a time. What's beautiful about this season is how democratic it is without losing sophistication. The ideas aren't gate-kept. Proportion play, texture-first dressing, color editing, intelligent shoes, one sculptural accessory. These are not price-dependent, they are eye-dependent. That's why the conversation feels rich online. People are learning to see, not just to buy. If we had to name the single headline of fall, it would be refined intimacy. Clothes that come close to the body without clinging. Materials that invite touch without begging for attention. Shapes that protect without hiding. The old binary, sexy or serious, has dissolved. The new goal is presence. You walk into a room and look like you know yourself. So when we say stylish women are obsessing, it's not about accumulating novelties. It's about refining choices. They're obsessing over how a fabric falls, how a collar frames a jaw, how a long skirt changes the rhythm of a day. They're obsessing over the interior life a garment suggests. That's why these trends feel sticky. They meet the weather, but they also meet the moment. As the months get colder, Consider fall not as costume, but as composition. A long line below, a sculpted curve above, a shoe that says certainty, a color story that edits rather than shouts, a single piece of jewelry that turns the face into the focal point, and always texture, the first word and the final punctuation. This is the season of considered choices and intelligent pleasure, of clothes that make room for your life while sharpening your outline. The obsession is justified. Fall has finally remembered that looking modern isn't about being loud, it's about being legible, and nothing reads better than a wardrobe that knows exactly what it's trying to say.